Hey guys, it's Josh, and welcome back to the Not So Bad Bachelor Pad, your favorite podcast for learning how to balance between being a functional adult and a raging dumpster fire. And let's be honest, we've all been a bit of a dumpster fire. Joining us inside the Bachelor Pad this week is Lauren Salon. Lauren, thank you so much for making time for us today. I know we're time zones away, but I'm ready to have an amazing conversation.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm super excited as well. I love that intro. I think it's gonna be fun today.
Now, anybody who's watched the show, you know that being a dumpster fire is the best and worst thing in life. So, in true dumpster fire fashion, don't take your eyes off of us, and we're going to get into it. But before we get into all the fun meat and potatoes of the conversation, Lauren, can you tell me a little bit about you, about your brand? How did you get here today?
Absolutely. So, like the cliff notes of it. So, what I do today and what you'll see me talking about a lot online is I work with a lot of women on helping them like break free of that like boss babe hustle culture kind of mentality and way of being so that they can really like own that feminine energy, like feel really at home in their femininity and in like being a very magnetic and fully expressed woman. And so doing the inner work, the healing, the self expression, like all of that kind of stuff to really live in a way that feels most aligned, most authentic, and most like alive, really. And how I got to that point is just a little cliff notes for everybody listening. Men and women, we all have masculine energy and feminine energy, right? Men are generally going to have more masculine energy than feminine, women more feminine than masculine, right? That balance and how that looks is like individual for each person, right? It's a unique individual thing and it can also like shift depending on if you're under stress, you might lean more into your masculine energy or vice versa, right? Or if you're feeling really creative, whatever like life circumstances are going on. What I've seen just in my own life, in friendships, professional settings, clients I work with, like so many women in our time, right, have lived a lot of their life in their masculine energy. So I'm in my 30s, so I'm sure like many women in their 30s can relate. I was an athlete, I excelled in school, like very much overachiever, perfectionist, like did every single thing possible and always wanted to be the best at it. I struggled with self-worth and all that kind of stuff. And I was like terrified of doing something wrong. So the perfectionist, like that whole combo, right? That really came from a desire to feel worthy and came from that like unworthiness wound. And over time, operating that way, which a lot again was in my masculine energy, that competitive, really assertive, go getter kind of in my job and school, all of that, that resulted in a lot of really great things for me, right? Like a lot of success, like good money, good accomplishments, like well respected, confidence, like on the outside, that kind of thing. But I got to a point where, and this really came out in my marriage, spoiler alert, I'm divorced. I'm in a very happy, like wonderful, amazing relationship, but have gone through divorce. And so this kind of stuff really started to come out like this lack of balance, if you will, for myself started to come out in my marriage where I had attracted a partner who, because I was very stuck in my masculine energy, I attracted a man who was very much in his feminine energy. So I attracted a partner who was very in his feminine energy because we were complementing each other, right? And as I started to do that inner healing work on myself, which for me, it was to heal the like overachieving perfectionist unworthiness stuff, right? I didn't even know what masculine and feminine energy was. I was just in this place where I was working for myself, running my own business, and I was just exhausted. Like there was never enough time in the day. There was a never-ending to-do list. I felt like I'm like, looking around and like, gosh, like I'm exhausted, like deep in my soul. I don't have enough time for my life. There's not enough time to work more and money feels tighter than it should, but I really don't have any extra time to pour into work. So like something is wrong. Like this isn't working. And one of the big like aha moments for me was I found myself in that position when I was working for myself, but it was the same way I had felt a few years prior when I was working for another company. And I thought it was because of the situation I was in. Oh, well, it's this job. This job is making me be a workaholic and a like overachiever, all this kind of stuff. When I work for myself and I have control over it, it's not going to look that way. Spoiler alert. I was like, oh no, I'm the only one to blame. I'm the problem, right? So I started doing this inner work to like really heal that perfectionism, overachieving, unworthiness stuff. And part of that that also needed to be healed was to really like heal that masculine feminine energy balance within myself. And as I started to like harmonize that and balance it out, that kind of lack of balance in my relationship or lack of polarity started to become very apparent, right? And ultimately, we chose to get a divorce. I think is very sad no matter the circumstances and situation, even if it's the right thing for both people. And out of that, like I went into even more healing and even more growth for myself. And as a result, long story short, I ended up starting to do a lot of that work with other women because I would see so many women around me. I've been an entrepreneur for 10 years now and seeing so many highly independent women who have similar like upbringings and lives and just life experiences, right? Seeing so many of us who are successful, right? Go getters in our careers and all of this. And like you would look at and on the outside be like, oh my gosh, she's such a catch. Like she's so amazing. And hearing so many women friends, clients, whoever it was, getting really frustrated about their dating life or their relationships and having a lot of these similar kinds of struggles. And so, I coach women and I've coached women on so many different things from like inner healing, somatic therapy, those sorts of things, but also a lot around dating and relationships.
I mean, that's a very powerful place to operate from because
Thank you.
sometimes our lowest moments inspire the brightest outcomes.
Mhm.
And you're right. Even though a relationship ends and that's sad, sometimes it is for the better. So I'm glad that you were
Yeah.
able to leave that place and end up where you are now with a
Thank
partner
you.
who makes you happier. And
Like one of the hardest things I've ever gone through, getting divorced. Very hard,
uh,
and so, yes, like, kicked off a lot of deep healing.
we all have things that we need to heal from. And I'm glad that you've been able to, progress on your journey like you have.
Thank you.
This is a term that we've been hearing a lot over, I'd say, the better part of the last decade is girl boss.
Okay. Yes.
Do you think that sometimes people confuse being independent with being emotionally unavailable, or because those
Mm.
two things are a little different? So I want to know.
Love that's such a good question. I think they are different, right? So I think it's important whether you're a man or a woman, right, to be self-sufficient, right? Able to take care of yourself, all of that. And so to be independent, right? And then I think there is a thing that I see with a lot of my clients and with a lot of women in the like boss babe kind of girl boss kind of energy is when they start to step into that hyper independence. And what that often looks like is unwilling to accept support. And one of the beautiful things about being in a relationship and even just friendships and stuff like that, like close, good friendships is you need to be open to being supported. So, like being poured into and pouring into others. Right. And so sometimes that hyper independence that I see from a lot of women who have that kind of girl boss, boss babe mentality, there is this hyper independence, which again, we end up doing that and acting in those ways because it serves us in some point, right? And so for a lot of women who have been used to operating that way, it's because from very early on they learned they could only count on themselves, right? Whether that was emotionally or for resources or whatever. And so they had to like really be the ones to look after themselves, and then that translated later like throughout their whole life. And then they learned, wait a second, I can do all the things for myself. I don't need anyone else's help, right? I don't need anything like that. And also emotionally.
Okay.
What was that?
Sorry. I lost you for a second.
So a lot of women who have grown up in this like hyper independent place, they have this mentality, and it doesn't just get seen in romantic relationships, but often that's where it's noticed most because that's where people often feel like most vulnerable and most protective. But there's this hyper independence where they have this mindset of I don't need anybody's help and like I can do everything myself. While it's yes, important to be independent and self-sufficient and all of that, when it crosses into that like hyper independence, I don't need anybody sort of thing, like I'm not going to accept help, I'm not going to accept someone pouring into me or whatever it is, that's when it starts to become emotional unavailability. one of the things I like to tell women who can be in that kind of zone, yeah, you are super capable. You're super smart. You built this whole business all yourself and it was just you for like X number of years. Yeah, you're amazing and you're very, very smart and capable and successful and independent and self-reliant, like all those things. That's great, right? And if you want to be in a relationship where you feel nurtured, nourished, and like poured into, because a lot of women who are operating that way, what they don't always admit, though I think they're starting to more, is that they're so exhausted. And what they really, really want, like so much of what they want is somebody to like help lighten the load, whether that's emotionally or in doing things or whatnot, but not just like lighten the load. They want to feel truly emotionally held and supported, that everything doesn't have to be on them. And so I point out, like, hey, that's great that you can do every single thing yourself, but you
Hmm.
don't have to, right? And in fact, life can be a whole lot better when you let that guard down and you allow somebody else in who can pour into you more.
Yeah, I love that because, in my opinion, one of the best compliments that I can receive as not just a man, but as a partner is I feel safe with you.
Yep. Yeah.
Knowing that somebody feels safe by your presence and your demeanor and your support is huge. But the counterpart to that is you have to be willing to, like you said, allow me to pour into you, allow me to help you. Because sure, I could be your cheerleader and just stand off to the side, but I'd rather be your partner, your teammate, and
Yeah.
be side by side doing the work, building together.
Yeah, and I'm curious what your perspective is on this, especially for the women listening, right? Like a lot of men feel very valued by what they do. And not only, right? It's not
Hmm.
only about what a man does and can do for you. I want to be very clear because men also want to be loved and respected for who they are, right? Separate from what they can do. But men, like, it activates a man's masculine energy when he's able to do things and pour into you. Just to your point, like do those things, or even just by his presence alone, make you feel supported and cared for and safe. It's that like protector, provider kind of energy. And so if you're like, no, I can do it all myself always, I don't need any help, right? Like, it blocks a lot of a man's like innate masculine energy and wiring.
No, you're completely right because I try to stay away from terms like toxic masculinity because masculinity in itself is not toxic. Same with
Correct.
femininity. However, it's the application. When
Yes.
you are in a situation, when you're in a relationship, no matter if it's professionally, romantically, platonically, and you don't allow each other to soften when they need to or be as hard or, rugged as they need to, then that's where you have those kind of disparities. I think that you're right. Men do appreciate when their actions get noticed, have different communication styles. Even the way our love languages show up are just different between men and women.
Hmm.
And even though we might not think acts of service or words of affirmation are kind of what do it for us, they kind of do it for us.
It goes such a long way. Like,
It
just
does.
saying, like, "I appreciate," like, "Thank you for doing that for me so much. I appreciate so much. Thank you for XYZ. Thank you for this. Like, I appreciate you." Like, I don't think women realize how much that kind of acknowledgement and appreciation is so meaningful for a man, and it's so easy too. And also to what I was saying before, like, when you allow a man to do those things that and then appreciate for him, like, it activates the hormones in a man that lead to more bonding and more like commitment and attachment and stuff like that, because again, men and women, like you're saying with love languages and stuff like that, like we're wired differently. Like, so what makes most women feel loved and attached, those are very different things and very different hormones compared to a man.
And that kind of leads me into one of my next points is if feminine energy is about surrendering, how do you explain to women how to survive in an atmosphere that might be a little more masculine just to
Yeah.
feel safe?
Yeah, absolutely. And so this is one of the things where like it can be a challenge for so many women to be in their feminine energy, because like the reality is we very much do live in a like masculine structured world, right? To be successful. And so and most women, whether unless they're in a relationship, and even then many women who are in a relationship, you have to take care of yourself financially, right? And so for a lot of that like to be successful in doing that, you do need to lean into more of your masculine energy traits and qualities and characteristics and stuff like that. And there's nothing wrong with that, right? The goal is not to like never be in your masculine energy, right? It's about finding the harmony and the balance that works for you. And especially for women who are like high achieving, successful go-getters and stuff like that, it can be harder to find that balance. And you often have to like make clear changes. Sometimes, I'm like, okay, like I'm gonna have a clear break in my day after work so that I can be more in this energy. And what do I need to, if I've had a really busy work week, what are the things that I need to do to like help myself surrender and soften more, And so it's acknowledging that, yes, our world is designed like that. And also finding like the moments where we can really like surrender and soften. And something for women to help do this is it's not about being like open and soft all the time, no matter what, right? One of the beautiful things, and I think this, like, whether it's cheesy or not, I'm going to say it, like, when you're at that kind of like queen level in your energy, right? Like, a mature woman, and it's not about age per se, though I do think this kind of stuff can come as you age and mature. But when you're in this like understanding of what it means to be a woman and that energy and that power that we have, it's not at all about, oh, I'm just going to be open with my energy and my femininity and it goes everywhere and all that kind of stuff, right? No, it's about being elevated, like having an open heart, warm energy, but there are very clear boundaries to access to you and stuff, that which does not mean that you are cold to people or rude or anything like that, but that it's very elevated, right? Because that's then the way, like what those boundaries and that elevation, and it's not like a stuck upness, right? Or a better than, that's not it. It's boundaries that allow you to keep that feminine energy soft and open and flowing and just like so delicious and beautiful, but you're being discerning with who has access to that and discerning with who gets like the best of that energy.
You used a really crucial word that a lot of people, I feel like, don't always think about, and that's access. We all know about boundaries, and setting
Right.
them and maintaining them is important, but when you create boundaries, it also limits the access that people have to you. And I think that's where sometimes the confusion comes in is I have a boundary, and so I may not be kikiing or super buddy buddy with some people because where our boundary is, you don't have access to me. I was like, we may
Uh-huh.
be in proximity, but you don't have access to me. And I think that's important because not everybody should have access to you, especially unlimited
Correct.
access. Yeah.
Absolutely. And it's a sort of thing where, again, it's this distinction. Like, you don't have to be a jerk to people or cold, right? So, like, say you're, like I love to go to a cute cafe and work and stuff like that. If I don't have a ton of calls, like, I love like being in a pretty environment, which I think also is like such a feminine energy hack. Like, go work in a place that feels beautiful and like you just kind of naturally like put more of that energy out and it feels so good. But like I love to work in that kind of setting, right? And sometimes I'll go to the same places because it's familiar, it's easy. And so the difference, right? Like the boundaried, like open-hearted, amazing feminine energy, but with boundaries and limiting access is the difference between like someone can say hi to me, right? Like hi, oh my gosh, it looks like you're having such a nice time. Great, like thank you. And so I'm going to be warm, I'm going to be kind and all of that, but that doesn't mean that this person, whoever they may be, is entitled to a 5-minute conversation with me, right? And so it's not a you're not worth my time or anything, but it's this thing of like whatever I might do, because often if I'm working, I'm not looking to get into some long conversation anyhow, right? But it's this sort of thing where it's like, oh, so nice to see you as well. I hope you're having a beautiful day. I'm actually like, I'm focusing on this right now, so I can't chat, but it was so good to see you, right? Where you still get to be like warm and open, but it's so clear. And that access, again, is not unlimited. It is privileged to a certain extent without sounding like I don't want to sound like a jerk with that and stuff like that, like stuck up, but it is like being really protective of that kind of energy and your time, right?
Both are super valuable commodities. Now, taking that, I feel like a step further, you have a word that you talk about a lot, magnetic. But how can someone tell the difference between being magnetic and being genuine and just sometimes being addicted to the chase?
Ooh, that's a great question. So again, I've tended to work with women who have like throughout their lives, like gotten a lot of attention for whatever reason. It may be for looks, it may be like women who are like, people are, there's just something about you, right? Like that sort of thing. And so because of that, right, they've had to learn sometimes the hard way of like, okay, I have to figure out how to have boundaries because people are going to want access to me and want a taste of that energy because it feels good and stuff like that. So that's like just kind of a little quick example of that kind of magnetism, right? And so with being magnetic, you can fake it to a certain extent, not truly, but like people can be fake charismatic, right? And fake
Right.
charming and stuff like that. But ultimately, that kind of energy is not going to be truly magnetic. Like it'll bring certain things in, but it's not going to be sustainable, right? And so there's going to be like a lot of turnover with that, whether that's turnover in opportunities, turnover in like clients and business stuff, turnover in relationships, because if it's not like anchored in authenticity, it's gonna fall flat after a certain point, right? And so real magnetism comes out of authenticity, right? It also comes out of boundaries too, because if that energy is going everywhere, like it's going to pull a lot in, but then it's like leaky, you know? And so when your energy is more inaccessible, if you will, or that access to you rather is more inaccessible, like it like sharpens that magnetism so much. And so with that, like authenticity to become more magnetic, you absolutely have to be like showing up authentically in the world. If you're feeling that pull to someone, like feeling someone else's magnetism, like how do you determine if that's authentic or not? It kind of depends because sometimes we get pulled to people from because our trauma is getting activated, right? Sometimes we get pulled to people for really like genuine, beautiful reasons. So it sometimes depends on what's that magnetic pull coming from.
I like that because it really is different for each and every person. Because one of my favorite phrases is leaning into your awkwardness. Sometimes, exactly. Sometimes
Yes.
that's that
I
little
like that.
bit of authenticity that makes people to be like, no, he's real or
Yes.
he's funny, but like not like haha funny, but just just
Yeah.
those little minute details, which really does make the biggest impact, in my
Yeah.
opinion,
Yes.
is when you
Yes,
don't seem to
exactly.
be cookie cutter. Yeah.
Right, and when you're not really caring what other people think. Like, for example, I'll get like this is just a kind of random example from like day-to-day life and because I did it today. So like I love dancing. I'm not by any means like a professional dancer or like I did not grow up doing dance. I was a soccer player and like athlete and stuff. I love dancing. It makes me so happy. It makes me feel so good. And I do a dance class a couple times a week and went today. And so if you think about like if I'm in that class dancing in a way that makes me feel so good. I may not be hitting all the things exactly right by any means, right? I'm for sure messing up. But if I'm like, I am feeling it and I'm so present and so connected and I'm just showing up in the most authentic way, if I'm like really like pouring myself into that, people are going to, even if it looks silly sometimes, people are going to be more drawn to that energy than the person who's like overthinking, well, what if I get it wrong or I don't want to like go too far out because what if people think I'm like just being extra or whatever it is. So like the owning your awkwardness, like even people in class, like there's some people in class who are just like doing the most and you watch them like you might look at them and be like, "Oh, they're like being kind of silly or I wouldn't go that far." But I'm still being drawn to them, right? They're not being disruptive or anything like that, but I'm like I love how much this girl is feeling herself and having a blast in this class. And even just that, like, it is pulling my attention because that authenticity from her, even that like awkwardness from her is magnetic, right? And so I love what you're saying with that. And it's not about because a differentiator, right, is it's not about doing it just to get attention either. Because
Oh yeah.
people can tell, right? People can tell if you're doing it in a performative way to get attention, looking around, whatever it is, like people will tell. But when you're just so like embodied in your you and you're so present with your experience and you're just like being caught up in the moment and stuff like that, like it's so magnetic. And sometimes it's going to be awkward and that's okay.
It Once again, I love using this term because it has so many different shades to it. Okay, let me backtrack. So I say dumpster fire, and sure, sometimes that means that I'm a hot mess, but really, I think what was it? It was 2015. 2016. I'll never forget this. It was 2016. I was at my friend's house and we were bringing up the groceries and we're like, what's that smell? And then we turn around, there's a literal dumpster on fire. Yeah, like right there, like in the alley. And then we hear a car wreck and we go out to like check to see if people are okay. They're like, what happened? They're like, we saw this dumpster on fire and we couldn't take our eyes off it. And I was like, being a dumpster fire really just means that like you're magnetic in a sense because people just can't take their eyes
That
off of
is
you.
funny.
They're
That
just
is so
drawn to
funny.
you.
That
Yeah,
is so funny. A literal dumpster fire
a
that
literal dumpster
caused a
fire.
car accident. There you go. It's the metaphor in action in real
Yeah,
life.
because like if you think about it, if you walk past a dumpster on fire, you're not gonna just ignore it. You're gonna
No, you're gonna be
you're
like,
gonna
"What is going on in here?"
100%
Yeah.
somebody's gonna take a picture. It's gonna end up on the internet.
And here's the thing, sometimes when you're in a dumpster fire zone, when you feel like everything's going wrong, you're still often very magnetic, but just not in the direction you want to be. Not in the way that feels good. So you can still
That
be
is so
like,
true.
"Look at how powerful I am. Let's just turn this around."
I am me, hear me roar,
Yeah, if
but
I
also
can
don't
go
look at
this
me.
direction, if I can go this hard in this direction, surely the rubber band can fling me the other direction.
Yeah, it's literally if I'm this at my worst, imagine me at my best, okay? I don't know what the opposite of a
Exactly.
dumpster fire is, but it would be that.
I don't either. I don't either.
Things that'll keep us up at night. No, I love this because not a lot of people spend time really talking about the intangible stuff. We always worry about how we can make ourselves more appealing, more attractive, happier through, I guess, like physical means or
Mm,
work, coaching. But really, I think sometimes just focusing on those little intangible pieces of our day to day, of our identity that sometimes get overlooked can turn things around, especially if you are a go getter woman, because men don't really have biological clocks for most things. I was like, the things we can do at 16, we can almost do all of them at 70 as well.
yeah.
I mean, it may be a little slower, but we can still do them.
Yeah.
Just throughout history, things have just very much been patriarchal. So there's not as much pressure. So the fact that, even though women compete hands down, like they are equal, sometimes more because they have a different perspective, it does seem like sometimes they have to put different parts of themselves on the back burner. So I love that, like through your coaching, that you're kind of teaching them that no, this doesn't have to be on the back burner. You can be successful. You can be a boss. You can have the white picket fence and still own all of your shit.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. And I do think, right, because of the like world we live in and stuff, yes, women are more quote unquote required, excuse me, for like surviving and even thriving in the world. We're more required to lean into our masculine energy than I think men are required to lean into their feminine energy. But yeah, there is like you can find that balance, right? And even if during your day to day, because work doesn't equal masculine energy, but a lot of things that you do in work are going to be more masculine energy. But if you're like, if you work with a team, you're going to be like leaning into both a lot, right? If you do creative work, that's a lot of feminine energy doing creative work, right? And so work doesn't automatically equal masculine, though it does for a lot of those kind of like survival things, right? It is more the women do need to lean more into their masculine energy, but you can find that balance. And a lot of the times too, like one, when you do find that balance, it's going to feel like you're going to feel so much more peace and flow and ease and be able to like capitalize off of that like innate magnetism that women have. Life is going to become easier when you find better balance in that and lean more into your feminine energy. But you'll realize too, like there's so many ways where your feminine energy becomes an asset in your day to day life where you likely didn't realize it before.
I love that because sometimes I wish that life was a reality show in the sense that we had somebody like a cameraman following us around. Because I think there was a statistic that we covered earlier in the year where it's like 94% of our life we live on autopilot. We're not really active drivers in our life. And so when you're on autopilot, you may remember some of the broad strokes, but you don't remember the the vivid details. And that's really where change, life, and everything
Yeah.
exciting happens at. So I love that when people do get that opportunity to kind of step outside of themselves sometimes or gain a new perspective, that they then realize those vivid kind of minute points that we were just talking about.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and yes, the majority of our life is on autopilot, right? The majority of the thoughts that we think and the things that we do are operating like on the subconscious out of our immediate control. You can reprogram those things, you can change those things, which is something that like I got certified in because I wanted to learn how to change it for myself because I'm like, okay, this same outcome keeps happening and it's annoying me and I'm sick of it. So let's like, how do we figure this out? How do we solve this problem? But like, it's so important to realize like so many of the things in our life, like there we're being operated by and driven by what's happening like in our subconscious and unintentional. And so the more intention we can bring to our life and the more that you realize like you have so much more power over what your life looks like and how your life feels than you realize, like the richer life becomes.
100%. I love being the author of my own story because if you let other people define and kind of drive where your life goes, you'll look down the line and you'll be unhappy with a bunch of regrets and wishing that you would have taken more chances or followed your heart. So when you are working with your clients to do just that, and I do the same with like the bachelors and bachelorettes who come through here. I just think it's one of the most fulfilling and kind of not earth shattering, but like enlightening experiences that we can have, that we can offer.
Yeah, absolutely. And I've worked with people like on a very deep and long-term kind of basis, like some people for, clients for like 6 months to a year and stuff like that. And then I've also been able to like give like one tiny tweak to somebody or a little thing or someone gets one of my small programs. I have a texting guide that's I'm like I call it a small thing because it's like $11, but it's so good and there's so much good info in there, but like how the tiniest like communication shift in someone's relationship can end up making like a very big change, right? Or like doing the deep inner work with somebody to help them have a realization of like, oh my gosh, this is happening because of like XYZ from the past. And I adopted this limiting belief that like isn't true. So why am I believing it? And why am I letting it dictate so much of my life? Let me like change that belief so that I can change my life. And like then seeing what comes as a result is it's so rewarding and so fulfilling.
I can only imagine. Now, Lauren, you've been giving us wisdom, but let's see how fast your intuition is. I don't know if
Okay.
you've watched the show, but my favorite part is what I call the quickie questions. This is rapid fire questions, no filters, just flow. Don't worry, it's controlled chaos.
I
Innocence.
love controlled chaos and I love rapid fire. Let's
Alrighty.
do it.
You kind of answered the first question. Name
Okay.
of the show.
I'm ready
Not
for
so
it.
bad. Bachelor pad. Your current relationship. You said you're seeing somebody. You have a new partner, correct? Or, or is it just it's still
Yes.
new and
Yes.
we're kind of
I'm
molding it out, feeling it out?
it's like it's so good. It's so good. Very, very happy.
Perfect. Listen, we love here, no matter if it's the guys, the gals, and everybody in between. I think that's really what everybody wants, is to have somebody who makes them smile as much as you are right now thinking about them.
Mhm. Thank you.
So I have to ask everybody this year because thanks to Love Island, it's I think should be added into Merriam-Webster's. What do you think is just the biggest ick for like women who are like on the go, high achieving, really in their boss babe bag?
I would say the biggest ick is like men who don't put out like assertive, direct, like masculine energy. That's the biggest ick. But the caveat, right, is a lot of those women that are in that kind of mode, they're repelling men like that. But that would be their biggest ick that they would say.
I could see that because when you're the boss at work, you don't always want to be the boss at home. Sometimes you like to
Correct.
kick
Yeah.
your feet off and just follow the plan. So I love that. What do you think is sexier in a man? A man who plans a date or one that asks you, what do you want to do?
Plans a date.
You know what, fellas, you're hearing it
But
here.
it
We've talked
depends.
about
It
this.
depends. Okay. Here. Hold
Okay.
on. I will say if it's in the early stage, a first date, plan the date. Don't ask what do you want to do unless it's like, here's what I have. Like a woman wants like the plan 9 times out of 10, right? As things progress, like I love when my man's like, hey, I want to plan like a nice date for us. What do you feel like doing? Right. Because it is also important to be like, to check in with your woman and be like, hey, what would like make you feel so good and make you happy? And then make a plan for that. But like I would say the default like safe answer is make the plan, gentlemen.
We've been talking about this. A man with a plan is one who'll stand through to the end. Just it's that
Yes.
simple.
Yeah. It instills confidence.
When you take control of the date, it just makes it easier for everything to go right because when you're like, will they like this? Will they not like this? Should I do this? What should then you get too anxious and you can't be your authentic self anymore because that's when you shift into actor
Yeah.
mode because you're trying to play too many different parts. Just do something that you think that you will enjoy with another person, and I guarantee that they'll enjoy it too. 9 out of
Yeah.
10 times.
And I will say too to this because and I think we see this more on social media or I'll sometimes like yeah, I'll sometimes see it more on social media and stuff like that where women are like, He didn't he if he doesn't take me on this kind of date, I'm not going, right?" And while yes, I think a man should plan something that's intentional and thoughtful and like shows effort, right? Like a low effort like, "Hey, want to go walk in a park?" Like not that's not really like come on. Come on, right? But I think too for the men, right? If you're planning something and it's thoughtful and it's intentional and you're thinking about, okay, what do I think she would enjoy and appreciate and what do I think we would enjoy doing together? And if you're doing that and being intentional, like she should appreciate that, right? And if she is like having an attitude about it or it wasn't good enough or whatever, I think like if you really like thoughtfully went into it and like made a plan and were intentional and you were a gentleman, like if she's taking that kind of stuff for granted, then she's probably not a good fit for you.
I won't argue that. Now, I love for a man to be a man, and I love for a woman to embrace and embody her feminine. What is one thing that a man can do on a date to not only get you to embrace your feminine, but maybe even melt a little bit?
It can be so simple. Like open her doors, come to the door to, like, get her, open the door for her, like, for the car, open the door at the restaurant, like, these are it's such a little thing, like, even doing that, but it goes so far for a woman. You can do little things, like, ask her what she wants and then, like, order for the 2 of you, which, like, is some people's vibe, some not, and that doesn't mean choosing for what she will eat for her unless she's into that sorta thing, but, like, even asking, like, and then order like, it's just a very, like, gentlemanly, like, "Hey, I got us," sort of thing, right? Like, that's something again, like, small things like that. Yeah, I mean, those are just, like, 2 really simple things on a date. I mean, women are gonna like, if there's a little walk to the date, like, from the car, like, walk on the street side of the road. Like, these are such, like, simple, like, basic hacks that, you probably have already heard about, but women like these things, right?
Yeah.
So that you'll get hit by the car first. No, I'm just kidding, but, like, like, these little, like, gentlemanly things that women enjoy, right? If she's, like, to sit down at the table, like, pushing her seat in or, like, pulling the seat out for her. A lot of restaurants will do that for you, but, like, those little things. Like, another small thing, like, pour her water. Like, again, a restaurant will likely do this, but if they leave water at the table or you get a bottle of wine maybe or something like that, and you notice her glass is low, like, fill it up for her, and it's so I know some men will be like, think that that's, like, simpy or whatever, but it's, like, a woman who really likes you and really, like, wants to spend time with you and stuff like that, you doing those things for her, like, it is so nurturing, and it just shows such a level of, like, care and attentiveness to her needs that translates to a woman of like, wow, he's really like taking good care of me and he can really like, yes, make me feel safe and make me feel like such a woman. And so those little things go a long way.
Alrighty. Now, as progressive as we get, let's be honest, sometimes there's just something we can't let go of. What is a red flag that used to turn you on and maybe still does?
Maybe still does. I don't know. So here's the funny thing about that is I used to for sure be attracted to a variety of red flags. I used to like a bad boy kind of energy. And so I would say that does not turn me on anymore, right? That sort of like the bad boy energy doesn't do it for me at all. Like, I mean, I like a guy who like, no, I don't really even know that there's a translation for that still does. But I do like a little edge to my
Yeah.
guy, right? Like that
No,
sort of
I
thing.
could
But has to have like solid integrity,
Hmm.
solid character, like be connected to God, like good morals, all of that. But like there's a little edge sometimes. Like I kind of like that little thing because it like shows, oh, okay, he can, like he needs to throw down, he can, right?
Right. I think what my red flag has turned into beige with is inconsistency. I used to be inconsistent because I thought that made me like spontaneous. But now I was like, no, I was just trying to be spontaneous. So I've been more intentional with my spontaneity. And it kind of gives that like same kind of chase
Yeah.
feel. Like you never really know what I'm going to do next. And we like that sometimes, especially in a new situation. Like you're like, you know
Yeah.
that you'll be supported. You feel safe,
Yeah.
but you don't know what's coming next. It's literally a page turner.
Yeah, keeping it fun. Yeah, keeping it fun. Like it's you don't want to be flaky, right? Cuz flakiness is going to like communicate a lack of trust, right? And that sort of thing. But yeah, spontaneity and like keeping it fresh and exciting, like absolutely.
Okay. Last question. You are obviously a boss babe, but if your femininity was a soundtrack,
I
what
don't
song
use
is
that
playing
term
when you
anymore. I don't
soundtrack
identify
is
as that anymore.
it's like, listen, I'm growing. Okay. Nobody puts me in a corner. Okay.
Yeah.
You are a healed woman. You are somebody who is experiencing healing. What is the soundtrack that plays when you enter into a room?
Okay, the soundtrack that plays, gosh, honestly, it depends on the day. It
Okay.
depends on the day because I feel like it could either be like a amazing like Beyonce song, a song from like Selena or something, or like a Disney song. Like I'd honestly, we could go many, many directions. Disney, Beyonce, the country, classical, right? I can't be again, I can't be
That's
like
yeah.
boxed in by just one entrance song, right?
You're
If I
right.
had to choose, it'd probably be some Beyonce sort of thing though.
I loved originally how you like said Selena. So much respect. So many brownie points like were earned with like the Bachelor fam, with that one. Oh, we love Selena.
Yeah.
But Beyonce has done an amazing wow, English was not happening there. Beyonce has done an amazing job in her career of creating these anthems that are about being a woman, but also about being a queen. It just feels good. It's high energy, it's empowering, and it makes everybody stop. No, and stare at the what? The fire that may be just located inside the dumpster. No, but I love that. I love
Yes.
that. Okay, now today's been pretty fun, but there's still so much more that we can learn, that we can hear, that we want to know from you. So, Lauren, can you tell us if these bachelorettes who are listening are ready to take the next step or start their healing journey, or they just want to like stay tuned on what's next for you? Where can they find you at?
Absolutely. So I am very active on Instagram and TikTok. It's just my first and last name, Lauren Salon. That's last name Salaun. I do like one on one coaching sessions. I also have a lot of online guides and programs that you can do as well. My website is Lauren Salon. I have an amazing, as I already mentioned a little bit, a really, really, it's so good, you guys. It's so good. Texting guide for like how to text or communicate with a man in a way that will activate his masculine energy. It's called Text Like a Queen. It's $11. It's on my website. Like it's so, so, so good. So highly recommend you check that out. But also like I would love to hear from anyone who listened to this. If you have any questions, if you like the episode, like anything like that, like slide into my DMs on Instagram. Let me know what you thought. Let me know if any questions. If you're like looking at the site and wondering like, hey, what should I explore? Like send me a message and I can ask you a few questions and see like point you in the right direction and stuff. But I would love to hear from you guys.
We love that. And also, as we're going into cuffing season, the text guide is going to be huge for any of you guys listening because listen, we're going into the holiday season, matching PJs. The new year, you got to get ready to start thinking about who you might want to kiss when
That's
that
right.
ball's dropping. So definitely go check out her text guide and everything else that Lauren has to offer. It's going to be down there in the show notes. Or if you're listening and not watching, it's going to be over there at the link next to where you hit play at. But just remember, own your femininity, women or ladies. I don't
Yeah.
queens. And then fellas, allow your partners or anybody you're thinking about courting to feel safe enough to also embody their feminine as well. And then I will see all you amazing bachelors, bachelorettes, and partnered people next week for another fun, enlightening, and flirty episode of the Not So Bad Bachelor Pad. Bye, guys.